Ciao friends and welcome to Simple Italian Cooking. My name is Liz and I'm so glad you're here today because I've got an amazing recipe that you can use for dinner any day of the week, and it's super easy, super simple, uses basic ingredients and is loaded with flavor, and it screams Italian and it screams summertime. Fresh vegetables, healthy, okay? So really you can use it anytime. So I already have the pan. I'm using a cast iron pan. You can use any kind of pan. You can use a skillet, frying pan. It doesn't have to be cast iron. It just happens to be what I grabbed. I'm heating up some olive oil, so I'm using extra virgin. We just want to heat that up in the pan. And while that's heating, let me just explain to you. I'm using dried pasta. I'm using these little bow ties. This is kind of fun. I like using bow ties every once in a while. But you can actually use any kind of pasta. You can use short, long, thick, thin. This is one of those recipes that you really can't go wrong with whatever type of pasta you use. So whether you're using ziti or penne, or you're using bucatini, or you're using angel hair, or just regular spaghetti, all of that is fine. This recipe will go for that. So will go great with any of that. All right, so I have the water boiling. I'm going to go ahead and add in my pasta. I'm going to get this started. It's going to take about 9 minutes. What I like to do when anytime I add pasta to a pan of boiling water, I like to give it a little stir just to that helps prevent, because what happens is when that pasta, which is starchy, and it hits with that water, it's going to get a little sticky. So you want to make sure that you stir it a few times just to make sure that it doesn't stick, okay? So now at this point, you can salt your water if you want. Some people really like to do that. I don't do it. I just don't think it's necessary. But some people swear by it. That's fine. Do it if you want. All right, so I got the olive oil going here, and I'm just going to lightly chop this, roughly chop it. I'm not looking to really dice it. I'm not looking to, I'm not looking to slice it. I'm not looking to just, crush and add it in. I really want just kind of some rough pieces in there, enough to give it flavor and a little bit, and to be able to be noticeable when I get it in a bite. So I'm going to go ahead, and what I like to do anytime I add garlic to the olive oil, and by the way, I have this one kind of a low heat because we don't want that garlic to burn. We'll turn it up a little bit later. But I like to coat that garlic with the olive oil, okay? Now, we're just using one big zucchini. I'm making enough for myself and my husband. This will produce about 2. I'm going to use about 1.5 cups of the pasta. And this is one of those recipes that you can really adjust. If you want more zucchini, add more. If you want the actual specific ingredients and the specific measurements, please go to my website. I'll have the link below of the actual recipe, and you can pull for a larger quantity. But really, this is so flexible. And you can use this as a guideline. You can double this recipe. You can use less zucchini and use more tomatoes, or whatever you want. So the way that I'm going to do this is I am actually going to do quarter moons. So a little different than what normally I do. A lot of times when I cook with zucchini, I do half moons, which is really, really easy. It sounds fancier than it is. Just simply cut your zucchini lengthwise, and then, okay, so like this. You cut it, and then what you do is you slice it crosswise like this, and this is how you get your half moon. It's a half a moon. But what I want to do is I want to actually cut it again, slice it again, and I'm going to make quarter moons. And you can do it this way, or you could do it keeping the half moons, or if you want to do the whole circle, that's fine too. And I'm just slicing them so that they're about 1/4 inch in width. And like I said, this is a larger zucchini, so I'm just going to stick with this. If this was small, I'd probably use 2. So one small zucchini is usually, I use as a general rule of thumb, 1 small zucchini per person. So whether you're making stuffed zucchini, whether you're making this type of dish or a side dish, that's kind of what I use to approximate. So if you've got 4 people and, everybody wants a full, amount, then I would do 4 small zucchinis or 2 large zucchinis. Okay, so we have this in here. And this is such an easy recipe. It's really, you're going to be like, are you serious? So we're just going to go ahead and add the zucchini in. And you might be wondering, like, well, what order? Why not do the tomatoes first? Well, that's fine. You can do the tomatoes first. I'm just going to kind of cook everything together. That's the end. I don't want that. And this is a recipe. A lot of times when I'm cooking zucchini as a side dish or something else, I don't cover the pan. But in this case, I am going to cover it because I want to keep that moisture. I'm not trying to cook it off because I want a little bit of liquid to go with the pasta. Okay, so a little tip, and this is what I do sometimes just to kind of, oops, I need to turn this up. So at this point, you want to turn it up to like a medium heat. Because I don't mind having moisture, this is not like a fork tender type recipe where I want the zucchini to be, slightly firm. I'm just going to go ahead and add a little bit of water, which I just put in the lid and then just drop it in. And then I cover it and I go ahead and raise the temperature a little bit. That water does a few things. One, I feel like it kind of helps heat up and get the steam going in there, but it also helps keep that garlic from burning because I added that and cooked that for a few minutes. So just a little tip there. And then turn the temperature up to get things moving. And then we're going to go ahead and turn it back down. Okay, so let's check on our pasta. I'm going to give it a little stir. So let's talk about the tomatoes really quick. I'm just going to chop these up. Now, these are tomatoes that I've had in the fridge and I need to use them up. You can use a beefsteak if that's what you have. You can use cherry tomatoes, different type of flavor a little bit. That's okay. You're going to get more seeds. Grape tomato, same thing. Not as many seeds as a cherry tomato. Roma tomatoes would be excellent for this. San Marzanos would be excellent for this. But these are just basic tomatoes. This is not a recipe where you really have to worry about what kind to use. So I'm just going to go ahead and I want to get the liquid out of here. So I don't want necessarily large chunks for this type of recipe. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of chop them up, roughly chop it. Let me just check here because I turned it up. Yep. Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yay. Now I can turn this down just a tad. I'm using an induction burner, which I always talk about, and it heats up really fast, and it adjusts temperature really, really fast when cooking too, which is really, really nice. So that's why it so quickly went up, like that. So you got to keep an eye on that if you have an induction burner. I'm using 2 tomatoes. I don't think 1 is going to be enough, and because these particular tomatoes have a lot of juice in them, they're not real meaty. They're just going to kind of fall apart when they're in there, which is fine. I'm fine with that. I'll just use a little bit more. Again, one of these recipes that is a true, like, tried and true type recipe. Okay. All that liquid, I want to keep that. So make sure you're using a cutting board that has the groove so it doesn't slide, doesn't fall all over the place. Or just move it quickly to a bowl. That's why it's nice to have these cutting boards that have grooves in them. Not all do, but... So this is going to kind of create somewhat of a sauce between that garlic, the olive oil, and the tomatoes. It's so good. And there's different variations you can make with this. You could add onions if you want. You could add some chicken. You could add some chicken sausage with it. That would be good. Okay. If you don't like basil, don't feel like you have to use basil. I personally like it with this because I love basil and pasta. And I'll just have pasta with olive oil, garlic, and some basil thrown in. Another thing that you can do too is toast up some breadcrumbs and add that in. That's really good. But that's another recipe. So I'm just going to let this cook for a few more minutes. We're just going to let that sit for a little bit. I'm going to check it, stir it for a little while, a little bit, every few minutes, and see you back in a minute. Okay, this is looking really good. The zucchini is definitely cooking down. So I'm going to keep this covered. I'm going to turn this down just a tad. Actually, what I'm going to do is add in the tomatoes. My pasta's done, so I need to get that off and drained. But I want to go ahead and add the tomatoes, because what I don't want to happen with this zucchini is I don't want a like a charred taste. I don't want it tasting like grilled zucchini for this dish. I mean, there's a little bit of some of them get a little brown, but I really don't want that to be the primary flavor. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that in, and then I'm going to go ahead, cover it up, and drain the pasta. So I'm going to go ahead and drain the pasta. I'm using my clip-on pasta strainer, which I absolutely love. I have a link below to actually a video I did about how it works and the pros and cons. But I love it, especially for dishes like this, because when you do a pasta dish that doesn't have like a lot of sauce, you want to make sure that you don't drain all of the water. And so by doing this, I can easily do that. Yeah, this will be good. And I can let the pasta sit there. These things come right off. Just throw it in the dishwasher and keep it in a drawer or just off to the side. To be quite honest, I use it a lot more than I thought I would. I was like, this is a cool gadget, and it was nice. But I was really surprised at, like, I really grew to love it even more. All right. So this is good. Smelling absolutely delicious. And this is a recipe. This is a pasta recipe that you're not making the type of sauce where you want everything to be like super runny and it's definitely not a thick sauce. I actually want my zucchini. Some of my zucchini I did chop a little thick, so I'm gonna go ahead and just keep letting that cook. I'm gonna keep this lid on it because I don't want it to dry out. All this liquid you see in here, this needs to be part of the sauce. So, and in terms of the basil, we're going to add that at the end. You don't add fresh basil to a pasta dish or really any type of cooking dish until the very end, because what happens is when it will cook down too much and then it loses its flavor. So the best way to get that flavor is to add it at the end. Oh yeah, you can really see that this is cooking down real nice. This is exactly what we want. And don't worry if you think like, oh, it's too watery. That pasta that you have, it's gonna absorb in it. It's going to soak that right up. You'll be surprised. So always keep a little bit of pasta water off to the side. When you reserve a little bit of the pasta water, you can add it in so the dish doesn't dry out. Just in case you cook it down a little bit too much, you have that starchy water that will it won't dilute the flavor of what's in there. Like if you use regular, tap water, distilled water is what I actually use to cook with, and if I add that in as is, it's actually going to dilute some of the flavor. So when you use the pasta water, it doesn't do that as much. Okay, all right, yeah, probably about 2 more minutes and we'll be set. Okay, so this is great. Now what we're going to do is we're going to spoon the pasta. At least that's what I'm going to do. I don't want all the pasta water that's in there because I wanted to have some for reserve. But I don't mind if some pasta water gets in there because, the liquid evaporates, especially once you take the lid off. And this is looking really, really delicious. So I'm not using a slotted spoon. And I'm just going to mix this up. Okay, so we have the pasta and it's cooking. I'm going to turn it down because I don't want to cook off all that liquid, right? I'm just going to take a few basil leaves here and I'm just going to tear them. I'm not going to bother cutting them with a knife or a scissors or anything like that. And they're just going to naturally wilt down. I'm actually going to turn this off. And that basil smells so good. And you want to use fresh basil, not dried. Okay? So let's go ahead and give a taste test. And I haven't forgotten the cheese. I just like to add that on to the actual serving dish. And I'm using Romano cheese. I'm using grated Romano cheese. You can use shredded if you want. I like grated. If you don't have Romano, you can use Parmesan. I say this like in every video. Romano just has more flavor and a stronger punch. So you don't have to use as much. So it goes, in my opinion, it goes further. But if you like Parmesan and you use that and it tastes good, then go for it. All right. And of course, the best is when like everything is fresh out of the garden, right? Mm. The basil really comes through, so we got to add it at the end. All the vegetables taste really good. It would even be like, wow, 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 more if it was fresh from the garden. But this is very, very flavorful, very, very healthy and delicious, and a recipe that we make so often here. I don't always do bow ties. A lot of times I do angel hair with it. Really good. So I really hope you like this recipe. And if you do, make sure to give it a thumbs up. But let me know in the comments below if you try this recipe or if you have similar recipes to it that you want to share. That would be wonderful. Would love to hear from you. So make sure to subscribe, like, check out the links in the description, and enjoy. Thanks for watching. Grazie e ciao.